So, hi, oh,
There we go. All right. Well, thank you everyone for being here. We are so happy to be joined by Melissa Filock, who works now, they just changed their name, Firefly Children and Family Alliance, which was previously the Children's Bureau and Families First. She's been there almost 9 years. She's worked with children and families involved with the Department of Child Services to help with reunification and stabilization. For the past 8 years, she's been contracted by Ivy Tech Community College, where she's provided free counseling services to students within the Indianapolis service region. She earned her master's degree in clinical psychology from the Chicago School of Professional Psychology with a specialization in trauma and counseling. And we're so happy you're here, Melissa. And I know she always asks for questions. So if you want, you feel free at any time, you can submit a question through the chat or raise your hand, or I know you allow for questions at various points in your presentation as well. So yes, I will hand it up to you, Melissa.
All right, I'm admitting 3 other people, I think now. So yeah, we want this to be very interactive. And I will tell you, Katie, that I do a lot of, over the last 10 years, I've done a lot of presentations, but this one has been my most intimidating one.
Why is that?
Because parenting is tough. And it's hard to be like, I'm not the expert in parenting, obviously. I have my background working with Department of Child Services. I have my own kids. I have my own nieces and nephews. But I want to stress that this presentation is just about different parenting techniques, and you all are the own experts in your children. So in no way, shape, or form is this a way of judging people or telling that you're doing something wrong, because we all have to do what we do when we have to do it. So I love this little meme, like this expectation versus reality, because everything looks fine and dandy on TV and in memes and on Facebook, but in reality, parenting is tough. So today what we're gonna talk about a little bit is just about different parenting techniques that can help create a healthy environment and help create healthy children. So I saw this quote online and I loved it. So it was what a parent is. So being a parent is being there through the tantrums, the milestones, and the tears. Being a parent means that you love that little person which you created more than you could ever love yourself or anybody else. You'd readily lose sleep to comfort them from their nightmares. You would risk your own life for that small person. You'd surely die to save them if you needed to. And being a parent is never a burden. It's loving someone else wholeheartedly and unconditionally for eternity. Being a parent to your child isn't a job, it's a privilege. So we have to cherish it. So that's kind of where we want to start off. We are very privileged to be parents here. And although some days it does maybe feel like a burden or it feels overwhelming, there's a lot of people that wish that they could be in our situation. Let's see. Okay. So like I said, every child is different, and you're the expert in your children and parenting styles. So we all have children that have different needs, different wants, different backgrounds, different attachment styles. So this is not the manual of how to parent your child. And there's no such thing as being a perfect parent. So just be real. So we're going to go through, I think, 4 different parenting techniques or parenting theories. So there's 1, 2, 3 magic. And I know that this one, so at Firefly, this is one that we teach in our parenting program. But this one can be very controversial because it's based on the assumption that we don't talk to our children about what is going on. So it is an evidence-based parenting technique. And one of the things that they bring up in the book is the adult assumption. So we assume sometimes as adults that our children are adults. So we talk to them in that way. So we try to reason with them or talk to them about their behaviors, which can lead to this talk, persuade, argue, yell, and they put hit in here, syndrome. So when we try to tell our child, so for example, I think about my nephew who has oppositional defiant disorder. When I try to talk to him about hey, it's not okay to hit your sister. It's you are the oldest brother. It is not okay to hit her. Then he starts trying to tell me why he hit her. So, well, I hit Kalia because she hit me first. So then I continue to talk to him about how you're the boy, you're not supposed to do this. And then we start arguing. And then he starts getting frustrated. So then he starts yelling. And sometimes we have these adult temper tantrums. And I have, even as a therapist, I found myself in this yell hit syndrome area where I start yelling, I start raising my voice because I need to be heard. I know what's right. He doesn't know what's right. And in times where I've spanked him, it was out of my own frustration, not out of what he has done. So this is one thing that they try to avoid by doing the counting. So based on 1, 2, 3 magic, it's their theory is that kids learn and they become conditioned to this. So basically we say that's 1 and give them 5 seconds. We say that's 2, give them 5 seconds. When we get to 3, we tell them to take 5. So that could be a timeout or a time in. But we remove them from the situation and distract them. So according to 1, 2, 3 magic, it's less about talking about the negative behavior because most of the times kids know what they've done wrong. With my nephew, when he hits his sister and I say 1, he knows what he did wrong. And so I don't need to tell him what he did wrong because then that brings us into this talk, persuade, argue, yell, hit syndrome. And so that's why this is controversial. You know, as a therapist, I'm all about talking about our emotions, talking about our feelings, validating feelings. So this will work in some families and work with some kids, but it will not work with some kids. So I encourage people to try it out and see if it works. You know, they in 1, 2, 3 magic, they talk about don't talk about it unless it's something new. So the child tries to touch a stove or the child runs across the street or it's something that's really dangerous or unusual. Then we need to inform the child about why this is not okay. So one of the big things, is anybody familiar with time in, time out? So
I'm sorry, I was saying I've heard of them, but I forget what time in is.
So time out is often like where we have like a timeout chair or we have a corner that they go to and there's not a lot of communication. So we say, okay, 1, 2, 3 magic says if your child is 6 years old, they go to timeout for 6 minutes. And there's not a whole lot of communication. So time in is similar, but I would consider it like a rest period. And during that time in, we have communication with our child. So we don't necessarily talk about the behaviors that they were doing, but we talk about the feelings. What were you feeling when your sister hit you? What caused this behavior? And what this does is it allows, and we'll get into it further in the presentation about the emotional intelligence. So it allows the child, our children, to explore what they were feeling in that moment and kind of what led up to that experience. So time out is quiet. Time in is talking. But they're still in that time in for that 6 minutes if they're 6 years old. But we just make sure to talk to them and help them recognize what's going on in your body right now. What are you feeling in your body? Is your heart racing? Do you feel angry? Do you feel sad or scared? So this is a way. So I am personally more of a time in person than a time out. And even my son, who's only 2, he doesn't talk. But I often ask him, like, I know you're feeling very angry right now, but you cannot do what you did. So you know, we need to just breathe and think about it and just try to be better next time. Also, this 1, 2, 3 magic, I skip over this, the dictatorship versus democracy. So what it says is when they're younger, we are in charge. We make the rules, we set the boundaries, we let them know what happens in their environment. But as they get older, it has to become a democracy. Hi, baby. Hi. I'm talking to Kelly. You are so handsome.
You want to say hi? Hi.
He is a handsome little guy.
He is so handsome. So, you know, and the punishment has to reflect the age as well, as we know. Like me telling my son he can't watch Coco Melon, it's not going to do anything for him at 2 years old. But making him sit down on the couch for a little bit and just breathing and taking a rest can help him. Okay, so the next view of parenting is positive parenting. So this is essentially different, like the opposite of 1, 2, 3 magic. So 1, 2, 3 magic assumes that kids are born not respectful and selfish because they need their needs met. So positive parenting is a principle that assumes children are born good and with a desire to do the right thing. So this emphasizes the importance of mutual respect and positive ways to discipline. And they focus on teaching future behavior instead of punishing past behavior. So 1, 2, 3 magic punishes them because they do the consequences, the time ins or the timeouts. But positive parenting focuses on like redirecting and focusing on the reasons behind the behaviors to improve positive outcomes. So their principles are focused on the reasons behind the behaviors, be kind and firm. So this obviously does not mean giving in to the child. So if my son bites another child at daycare, me talking to him about it does not mean that it's okay. So we talk about why it's wrong, why he can't do that, and how to move forward. When he's angry in the future, how can you express that? So gentle discipline, so that those would be the time ins where they don't feel like they're necessarily being punished, but they're learning. Being clear and consistent. Don't say something unless you mean it. This is a big thing in my household back home, is my sister threatens her kids all the time with stuff, but never follows through with it. So they have learned, like when mom says I'll be in my room for an hour, it's not actually going to happen. Age appropriate. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, so echo that. I actually used to use the phrase in a couple minutes because children have no concept of time. So in a couple minutes, we're going to get ready to get in the car to go to the grocery, school, dentist, whatever. And I've often shared with parents over the years, like, if you say we're going to leave the playground, we're going to leave the playground in a couple minutes. When I finish talking to Mrs. Sattler, we're going to leave. You need to leave. Yep. You have to. And then if the parent comes up to you, you can say, call me later, because otherwise you teach them to just stream it out. Like, oh, well, mom's just going to finish talking and dad's going to go there, and nobody pays any attention. Right. Exactly.
Right. And the long-term effect of that we don't realize in those small moments is they learn not to trust us.
Right.
And like one of the things that I talk about is like the toxic positivity or toxic masculinity in my sessions is we can say one thing one time, but it can have long-term lasting effects. So when you say we're leaving in a couple minutes and you don't, they learn not to trust you. So you say we're leaving in 3 minutes, we're leaving in 3 minutes, because that allows them to create trust and consistency. You know, age appropriate behavior and development. So one of the things that we talk about a lot is especially with this development, is young children, our brains are developing until we're in our 20s. So young children Our last part of our brain to develop is our prefrontal cortex. And in our prefrontal cortex is where we have the cause and effect. So as parents, we get frustrated. I get frustrated when I tell my son, do not hang over that chair because you're going to fall off of it. And I have to tell him 15 times. But his brain doesn't have the ability to understand that. They don't understand that if I slap my sister, I'm going to get in trouble. So the consistency is important to develop the routine, because cognitively, they're not able to remember or understand that punishment stuff, especially not as, I mean, I don't know how old our children are all in here, but I think it's, does anybody have kids over 12 in here? Linda? Yeah. Our
Yes.
littles, they don't understand this.
No.
So that's why we have to tell them 27 times, don't touch the stove, because they don't have that ability to remember that.
They're experiential learners. And the reason we keep saying don't touch it is because on the 28th time, they're going to go, oh, I'm not going to touch the stove because I was told not to.
Well,
And if you stop, they will be like, wait, I can
or
touch
they
it now.
touch the stove and then they have that traumatic memory and then remember not to. Well, we can tell them 100 times, but we also have to look at the brain development. You know, the other thing is to start early. So I am, as a therapist, I'm horrible with this. So I had my son in 2020 during COVID, during everything that was crazy. And I live in a 1-bedroom apartment still. So my son sleeps with me in my bed, and it is going to be really hard to break that now that he's almost 2. So starting early, starting those routines early, starting all of that stuff early helps reinforce it in their brain. You know, I think number 7 is really important as well, is we have to chill ourselves out. A lot of times when we get aggressive or yell with our children, it's our own temper tantrum, because we are frustrated. We are overwhelmed. We have too much stuff going on that we can't handle what's going on over here. So making sure to engage in self-care is super, super important. You know, one of the things that they told us when I was going through school, and this isn't always necessarily true, because we do have some like mental health issues, but when children before the age of 7 come to therapy, it's often a parenting issue. So my niece has sensory processing disorder and she's 8. But one of the things that my sister learned through bringing her daughter to therapy is that she needed to learn how to handle her daughter's behaviors, because she wasn't making anything better. She was getting frustrated. She was getting overwhelmed, which then would trigger her daughter, who already has trouble processing her own emotions and her own feelings and her own behaviors. So therapy for my sister helped her be a better parent for her daughter, because it was just overwhelming for her. Another thing of positive parenting is making it a learning opportunity. So how can we learn from this? You know, you were messing around and you hurt yourself. So what can we do better next time? And then be patient. Don't despair. I have a person, I don't know how many of you parents have your people, but I have my person. I think about it like Grey's Anatomy. You know, Christina and Meredith. So there's times where I feel very overwhelmed, and I'll call my person Amber and say, I need you to come over. I need 30 minutes by myself. I need 30 minutes to chill out. I need you to come hang out with Jack so that he's not as crazy. And I remember growing up as well, my mom had her person, Debbie, that when I was 13 years old, flipping out, she'd call her person, and I would listen to her person more than I would listen to my mom. Do you all have people? A person? Linda says, yeah. Oliver, Sarah, Katie, you have a person?
Yeah, I guess my husband, but I think I need more people.
Yeah, because our kids know how to work us. So we need a person that can come in that they don't know how to work. They don't know how to manipulate. They don't know how to, they don't know our triggers, because our kids know our triggers.
We do take adult timeouts though sometimes. They are familiar with that move.
Do you? Okay.
Yeah.
You're like, okay, we need a minute. We're gonna just go in the bedroom and just chill. Okay. All right. So here are some things that I found about positive parenting, like a website I found that says, understanding the child's point of view. My nephew he has, like I said, he has ODD, very, very angry. His parents my sister and her husband are going through a divorce. He's in a new house. Like there's all of this stuff. And one of his biggest complaints is no one listens to me. He's the oldest child, so he's always blamed for everything. So when Mel, that's me, is home, I try to ask him, how are you feeling? And he responds completely different to me than he does to them, because I'm trying to understand things from his point of view. I respond to him respectfully of, Dominic, I understand that you're really upset right now, but we cannot behave in this way. I like this poster because a lot of it recognizes that parenting is really stressful. Okay. Recognizing and celebrating the child's strengths and abilities. So with my nephew Dominic, I always tell him, you're so kind, you're so sweet. We need to let other people see this in you. He's the first person to be at the restaurant and be like, oh, there's an old person, let me open the door for them. So I make sure to recognize that when he does that. Setting age appropriate guidelines for them, working towards a balance of meeting both of our needs, his needs and his mom's needs. Delighting in moments of connection with the child, recognizing and regulating our own feelings and behaviors before we respond to Dominic. Or I say Dominic because that's my trigger point. There was a couple weeks ago that I spanked him, and I felt, as a therapist, very, very guilty about it, because we're not going to get into that debate today about corporal punishment and all that stuff, but I felt so bad after I spanked him. But it was after like 2 hours of him cussing at my sister, throwing things, ripping up stuff. He hid under the bed for me. I was trying to come in there and be supportive of him and listen to him and do all these positive parenting techniques. And then he spit in my face. So I had an adult temper tantrum and I spanked him. And I felt horrible about it. And as I was doing this presentation, that's a lot of what I thought about. Was I was having an adult temper tantrum in that moment because I felt disrespected and I wasn't paying attention to his, like what was going on in him. I spanked him not because he spit on me, but because I felt disrespected. And I felt horrible. I cried. I went in there and cried to him later. Like, I'm really sorry. That was not right of your Mel. Like, let's figure out another way to deal with this. And I felt like we had a really good outcome from it. But I think it's really important to recognize that us as parents also, as hard as it is for our kids to regulate their emotions, it's hard for us sometimes too, especially when we have our trigger points. So there's another parenting technique, like regarding operant conditioning. So does anybody know about like Pavlov and like all of that stuff with the dog? Yeah, Linda says, yeah. So this can be a really successful parenting technique. When I do parenting classes and when I do parenting stuff with my clients, we focus a lot on this positive and negative reinforcement. So what it essentially says is, like, when you add something, you're likely to increase a positive behavior. So when my son Jack is playing by himself, I like to say, Jack, I'm so proud of you. You're doing such a great job playing by yourself. And when he gets that praise, he's more likely to repeat that behavior. Negative reinforcement includes taking something away to increase the likelihood of a behavior. So this is a good example. So a child cleans their room to avoid nagging from their parents. So the child is reinforced, like if I clean my room, then my mom will shut up and I won't have to listen to her bug me every day. Positive punishment is something is added to decrease the likelihood of a behavior. So a parent scolds a child for fighting with their sibling. So hopefully that will decrease the behavior. And then negative punishment is when something is removed to decrease behavior. So a child losing the iPad privileges after refusing to eat vegetables. So one of the tricky things about this is we can use this operant conditioning, and I often joke about behavior modification with our husbands or wives. Like if I come home and my house is clean and I tell my husband, oh, thank you so much, I really appreciate it. Like hopefully that increases the likelihood of him doing that because he gets that positive reinforcement from it. But the thing that people don't think about is with this, our behaviors also get reinforced. So for example, when we're at the grocery store and our child is screaming for a sucker and screaming and screaming and screaming, and we give the child the sucker, is that positive, negative reinforcement, or positive or negative punishment?
Is that positive punishment? Maybe. Yeah.
Yep. So we give them something to decrease the behavior, right? But as a parent, what kind of reinforcement is that?
Negative.
It's a positive reinforcement.
I was going to say, like, my children learned early on, they could ask 100,000 times. And I just said, nope, it's not. Yeah. In other words, no. I just kept saying no. We're in the line to check out. The candy can sit there, but no. And they stopped asking after a couple of years.
So what you were doing was negative punishment, right? So something is removed. You're not giving them a sucker, and it decreases the likelihood of that behavior. But when this happens, so you did, in that case, that was really good. So in the situation where I give my kid a sucker, I have positively reinforced my own behavior. Because in that moment, I gave them a sucker to make them stop embarrassing me. And it increases the likelihood of that behavior in myself and my child. So in the future, I might be more likely to just give them the sucker, or they come to the store with a sucker in hand so that they don't start embarrassing me in front of everybody in the grocery store line. Okay, so has anybody heard of parent-child interaction therapy? Katie says no. Linda. So this is something that's very therapeutic, but I have 2 YouTube videos that I want to show you all. So we do it at Firefly. So essentially what it is it is teaching positive parenting skills through observation. So let me see if this will actually work. Your browser is not up to date. Wait, hold on. Are you guys seeing this download Chrome and stuff?
But where's that water going to go?
Hold on, let me see. I apologize. I didn't practice this before, this part. I don't know what this is.
If you share the link in the chat, I can probably pull it up.
Yeah, let's try that because these are really good. These, if I can. Let me exit this real quick. Or it might do it when I'm not. No, that's weird. Okay, let me share the link in the chat. Okay, so there's the first one.
Okay.
And I'll stop sharing so you can share
Oh,
that.
you don't need to. I think I can take it back. All right. Ready? I think you
Yep.
should be able to see it.
Treatment. First, we start out with the play therapies where maybe a therapist is working directly with the child. We want to teach you as the parent who is with the child and is most likely the most influential person in your child's life, all of the skills that we would be using working with your family and your child. Now, we should let you know that parent-child interaction therapy was designed for children that are primarily between the ages of 2 and 7. And we do split it up in 2 different phases of treatment. First, we start out with the child direction interaction phase. And then once, as I've mentioned in other segments, once the parent demonstrates a certain mastery of skills and is practicing the skills at home, then we move on to the parent-directed interaction phase, where we'll teach you very specific skills for managing those behavior problems and those potential compliance issues that are still left at the end of the first phase of treatment. Now, we do want you to know that PCIT is a little bit different than other treatments, is that we want to make sure that when you're done with treatment, that the behavior problems are no longer a problem for you. So the way we do treatment is that we, one, make sure that you as the parent master all the skills that we're teaching you, and 2, by the end of treatment, we want to make sure that your child's disruptive behaviors or problem behaviors are pretty typical and normal compared to other kids your child's age.
All right, let's share the
So
other
this,
one.
yeah, the second one goes, it gives an example of it, and I think it's really cool, which is why I included it.
Many people don't know this, but if you qualify for this new offer through Pink
think we're
Energy, you
getting an
could get
ad.
paid over $2,500
I don't
to
know how to
install
make that
American-made
stop.
solar
If you have
panels
to do
and a
this-
Generac home battery. Not
my
only can you
word.
potentially save
3 seconds, yeah.
which could
Never
be like
bake
getting a
again,
free month of a mortgage payment,
Apply again.
but you may also be able to sell the extra electricity
How do I
you
make it
generate back to
stop?
the electric
It
company
should
if they offer
say-
net metering. In other words,
Oh my word.
and the latest breakthroughs in solar technology. You're able
there
to
a
get this
skip?
system for no
I don't
cost to
know.
install
There's too
if
much
you
open on my
qualify.
screen. I don't
Also,
even see where the
the
sound's
Generac
coming
home
from.
battery will give your home protection for blackouts, so you
Make
won't
it
be left in the
stop.
dark. Here's the catch though, not everyone is eligible.
Holy
That's
moly.
not, yeah, I don't know where that's coming from. That's
Sorry.
not coming from that one. Okay.
Okay, let's try again.
Technology, you know, is great when it like, works with
And that
us.
makeup doesn't work, by the way. I bought it. TikTok made me do it. It doesn't work.
All right, I think this is
Okay,
good.
yep.
Sorry about that.
Welcome back to the Lucan Center. My name is Dr. Lucan, and today we have something very special, which is we're going to do a PCIT demo. And the way this is set up, as you notice, I'm on the floor. My two daughters are here to help us out, and we're going to be playing. And you'll also probably notice that Kristen is really not in the picture right now because she's standing outside, sort of trying to mimic the idea of talking to me in my ear, so that she will help me coach through what to say during the play. I'm very excited about doing this, so I really hope you find it enjoyable and also educational, just to get the sense of how PCIT looks live.
All right, Constantine, please tell Olivia that it is special time and she can play with any of the toys. Use all the pride skills you've been practicing while you follow along with Olivia's play according to her rules. You may begin.
All right, this is our special time to play, so you could use anything that you see here.
Oh, you're going to pretend it's a sunny day.
Let's pretend it's a sunny day.
Great reflection, Constantine.
And then they decide to eat outside, but there's not enough.
Oh, man, they're going to decide to eat outside, but there's not enough chairs.
Oh, they're going to decide to eat outside, and there's not enough chairs.
Oh, well, it's 5 people. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Uh-huh.
You're right, there's 5 people.
You're right, there's 5 people.
Excellent reflection, Constantine. Notice the more you speak, the more she's talking with you.
Mm-hmm. I wonder where we could find them.
Great job wondering and avoiding that question, Constantine. Fantastic job.
I can.
I really like how you're taking your time to think about this.
I really like how you take the time to think about this.
Excellent label praise. Again, the more we praise, the more she's going to really take that time to think, because I know she's a bit of an active one.
Oh. 1, 2, 3.
Wow.
Now you have the exercise bike outside.
Now you have an exercise bike
No,
outside.
they just sit like this.
Oh, they sit like that.
Oh, they sit like that.
Great reflection.
And if they're energized, they can just sit that way. Hello.
That's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And notice the more you reflect, the more she's sharing with you.
Yeah. Very cool.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Mm-hmm.
Left. 1 more. We're gonna find one more.
I wonder where we can get that.
Great job wondering and avoiding the other question.
I usually them from here.
Okay.
Oh, now you're looking inside the box.
Now you're looking inside the box.
Great job describing her behavior. Oh, now you're walking around me.
Now you're walking around me.
Great job describing her behavior. Again, notice her laughter. She's really delighting in the fact that you're paying attention to her so attentively. Now you're really looking at that box.
Now you're really looking at that box.
Great job describing her behavior.
I'm thinking if this can be a chair.
Ah, you're thinking that it could be a chair.
Fantastic reflection. Great job being confident with that reflection as
So
well.
Katie, we can pause it now.
Describe the more she's sticking.
Okay.
So with PCIT, it's really kind of cool that they focus on several. Oh, yes. Okay. Let's see. So they focus a lot on the praising, reflecting, imitating, describing, and enthusiasm. And in that video, obviously that's like a fake video with a dad with his kids, but you can see how their child responds to it. So when we do PCIT training, there's a certain amount of times that they have to do the praising, the reflecting, the imitating, describing, and enthusiasm. But what you noticed was in there, the therapist said, good job avoiding the question. Don't direct them and don't criticize them. So we're more reflecting, so that allows our child to be more exploratory and allows them to open up with us more. Okay. The last part of this is talking about emotional intelligence. So are we all aware of emotional? I mean, as adults, we're kind of aware of our emotional intelligence and how we relate to other people and how we deal with situations. But ways that we can strengthen our children's emotional intelligence is just being very much aware of our child's emotions. See emotions as a way or an opportunity for connection and teaching. Listen and validate feelings. Again, this one really resonates with my nephew who has the oppositional defiant disorder. Like he always feels like he's not listened to. And that's his biggest complaint with his mom and my grandma, is they don't listen to me. So helping them label their emotions and helping our child problem solve within limits. So I have a son who's 2, and my biggest thing is creating a space that's free of that toxic masculinity. So I don't know how many kids are on here right now. We've got 1. So essentially we've got 1 on here right now. So, you know, boys are taught that they can be happy, hungry, another H word, angry, or sad. Like they're not allowed to feel any other emotions. So with my son, I just make sure to let him know and talk to him even at 2 years old. Like, are you feeling lonely? Are you feeling abandoned? Are you feeling sad? What's going on? So like we have this chart in our house, even though he can't read, he doesn't know what it is. This is a way for children to explore their feelings. Because what we know is that happy, horny, hungry, angry, sad, those are primary emotions, but there's often times a lot of emotions that are outside of that. So allowing kids the space to explore that and what they look like can be very, very helpful in helping them with their behavior. This is another chart that I use with my niece who has the sensory processing. So the breathe in, breathe out. Yep. Linda says, yep, that's familiar. So she'll come to me and say, hey, Mel, can we do my star chart? So we do it like breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out. And we have a printout that she carries. And my sister has one in her purse that she can pull out in case Addie has, you know, a freak out at soccer practice or wherever it is. But it's a good technique for her to remember that deep breathing. These are other things that I found online. So we have this star breathing right here. Another technique that I teach a lot is this grounding technique. So for kids, we do colors. So I might say, Dominic, and he's mad, I want you to look in the room and tell me 5 things that are pink. And then let him do it. Now tell me 4 things that are blue. Now tell me 3 things that are round. Tell me 2 things that are rough. Tell me 1 thing that is stinky. You know, so you can either do it with colors if they're young, or even with adults, I do it with senses. 5 things you can see, 4 things you can feel, 3 things you can hear, 2 things you can smell, 1 thing you can taste. Because what that does is that pulls us out of our brain, out of our negative thought process, and makes us distract ourselves to bring everything down. Okay. This is another feeling chart that they have. Here's that grounding technique, 5 things you can see, 4 things you can smell. Here's another breathing chart. And these are all available online. Okay. I like this check-in. Take 5 deep breaths, center yourself. Check in with your body and your mind. How are you feeling right now? Name 3 things you are grateful for. Tell me 5 nice things that you like about yourself. What do you need in order to make yourself feel better? One thing that I do with the older kids is after the end of the day, tell me something good that happened today. Tell me something bad that happened today. So that they can get used to that idea that good things and bad things can happen and it's okay. And when those bad things that happen, they might not think about telling us that some kid called them fat today. So they're holding on to that. But if we can create a safe space for them to talk about this, we are better able to support them. Here's more of these colorful charts. I really like this. So in my office, even as an adult therapist, I have a thermometer. And I ask them, okay, on a scale of 0 to 10, where's your anxiety today? Because that helps us rate where things are and what we can do to bring it down. The breathing exercises, pretend like you're blowing out a candle. When I teach breathing exercises to the kids, I talk about like you're blowing up a balloon in your stomach, or act like you're a frog and you want your frog stomach to breathe out and then breathe in, because that makes that the diaphragmatic breathing versus just our chest breathing. I know we're running out of time, so I'm trying to hurry through this. So I did a bigger picture of this one, that coping skills. So I really like this poster that I found, where it's the ABCs of coping. And you could create that for your own family. So art, stress ball, counting, deep breathing, eat a snack, find a space, practice gratitude, hug an animal, identify emotions, journal, be kind to yourself, listen to music, move your body. So these are all different ideas that you can do to help distract your kids. Because even as adults, we have to do this stuff. We can't, when our emotions are at a 9 or a 10, an 8, 9, or a 10, we cannot address them. So we do things to distract ourselves, to bring it down. And when we're at a 4, 3, 4, 5, we're better able to address them. When your kid is having a temper tantrum, it's not the time to talk to them about why hitting your sister was wrong, because they don't have the mental capacity to deal with that. The same way that when we get into a fight with our best friend, we don't have the mental capacity to deal with anything else. So my question is, as we're ending, I want to know kind of what works for you and your individual situations. And I love this, like, you will not dump your floor on the dinner, or your dinner on the floor. And he's like, don't believe me, just watch. So what works for you guys?
I could say that just, jumping in, I think that, and as he's talking over me, yeah, that one works great, man. Just talking to him, I mean, honestly, and being like, what, you said it before, but, like, why do you feel that way? Or why are you acting like that? Or what made you want to do that? And, you almost look at the wheels turning and they kind of think to themselves, like, I don't know why I did that. And then they start to get it when you keep, reiterating or, asking the question. I think that helps very much with Oliver.
How old is your, Oliver, how old is your son? Or you're not Oliver, you're his parent. So
yeah, I'm Mike. This is Oliver. He's
Mike.
He's about to be three in June.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's really helpful to talk to him.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Hey, Oliver, I'm going to bring my son Jack in so you can meet him.
You want to meet Jack?
Yes.
Does that sound cool?
He's super cool, but he doesn't have as cool as hair as you do. I love your hair.
It's a little out of control tonight.
No, it's super cute.
Thank you very much.
All right. What is everybody else? What works for them? So talking.
We really like the going into nature idea. It really it helps kind of change the space and energy, and I think we all feel better when we do it, and we can focus on something else for a little while.
So just kind of distracting yourself and getting out of your environment and away from like all the stressors of life.
Oh yeah, and it's even like sometimes we don't have time to go anywhere. We'll walk around our house, or we walk to the park down the block, or it doesn't have to be something big to be effective.
Can you say hi to Oliver? Hi, Oliver. Say hi again. Say hi, Oliver. Oh, he wants to give you kisses.
Say hi.
Hi.
Oh, say hi. See the baby down there? He's bigger than you, huh? Yeah. So I think as we're ending today, I have this picture of buckets. So they say that kids need 2 buckets filled up a day. They need attention and they need power. And that's the struggle with our kids, is they need to take power over their own environment. They want to take control, which is where some of the behavior problems come in, but they also want attention. But there's a 3rd bucket that is missing, and that's our bucket. So we cannot help fill up our kids' buckets if our bucket is empty. So I guess my last question for today is, what do we do as parents for self-care?
Yeah.
Jack says, yeah, tell me. My mom reads.
Yeah.
My mom reads. I like to sit outside when it's nice. I have a hammock, and I will tell my husband, Mama needs some me time, and I will go outside and read. And he's responsible for diaper changes. He's responsible for dinner. He's responsible for everything within that hour because I need time to recharge and fill my bucket up. Hey.
I read also sometimes, or watch trashy TV shows.
I also watch, like, are you talking about like reality TV shows?
Just anything, just whatever.
Yeah, my partner makes fun of me because he's like, why do you watch this crap? I'm like, because it doesn't matter. Like it, you don't have to think.
Yeah.
All right, we want at least 2 more people, and then we're gonna end.
I like to go on long walks or hikes.
Okay.
Get outside.
So kind of like Katie, get outside, just get out of your element, just enjoy the fresh air.
Yeah.
All right, one more.
The same thing, like I walk my dog, or when I bike and walk, sometimes I listen to music or podcasts or return phone calls, talk to folks. So I'm just removing myself.
Yep.
Leaving.
And Lauren said that she needs her workout time, get those cardio-based endorphins. 100%. So, all right. Well, with that, we're done. We're at 8. So I appreciate you guys kind of tuning in and being patient with me and just kind of listening, because I know that parenting can be, like I said, a very controversial thing because we all do it differently. Who's saying hi? Let's find this picture.
Well,
I hear
thank you,
baby.
Melissa. We are so grateful for you and for your time. And if you have any questions that you wanted to ask and you didn't have the opportunity to ask, you can send them to me and I can hand them over to Melissa. I also know that Linda is always a good resource as well. So
Thank you
with
very
that,
much,
thank
Melissa.
you for being here.
I see the baby
Why
up there.
not go not talking?
Hey,
Thank
hi.
you, Melissa.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Why not go not talking?
Say bye-bye. Bye.
Bye, Melissa. Thank you. Thank you, Kate.
Bye.
Thanks for being here, everybody.